The master glanced at him indifferently. Do you think your enemies will only come when your spirit power is at its peak? Dai Mubai was taken aback. The master's simple statement left him speechless. The master continued, knowing that Oscar had the flying mushroom sausages available, why did you give Ma Hongjun the chance to eat one? If you had stopped him from the beginning or conserved your own spirit power, you should have won this battle. Ma Hongjun hooked his arm around Oscar's shoulder. That felt great. I never thought I would be able to beat Boss Dai one day. What a thrill. Little Ao, your sausages are really useful. Oscar chuckled. Of course. After all, I'm now a spirit elder. The master coldly eyed the two of them. Are you proud? Ma Hongjun, let me ask you, why did you let Oscar fall to the ground when his flying mushroom sausages effect wore off? If Dai Mubai had had enough power left for one more attack, what would you have done? Ma Hongjun stared at the master, speechless. The master turned to Oscar. And you? A food-type spirit master must always prioritize their own safety. If he didn't help you, couldn't you have grabbed onto him to stay afloat? If Dai Mubai had enough spirit power, he would have taken you out first. If this was an enemy, you'd be dead now. Even a food-type spirit master at the title Dolua level is vulnerable in front of a battle spirit master. Dai Mubai, Oscar, and Ma Hongjun looked at each other, unable to respond. The master's voice was calm and cold, pinpointing their previous mistakes. Shao San. The master turned to Tang San. Tang San hurriedly stepped forward. Teacher, I'm here. Tell me your thoughts on your battle with Xiao Wu. Tang San blushed. Teacher, I was wrong. I shouldn't have underestimated her and fallen for her second spirit ability, Charm, which put me in a passive position. Without knowing what her third spirit ability was, I rashly used my spider web, making myself even more passive. The master nodded. It's good that you recognize your mistake. Yours was the most serious. Even a lion needs to use its full strength to catch a rabbit. You made an unforgivable mistake at the start. If the enemy's attack had been more fierce, you'd be dead. Remember, a control-type spirit master must control not only the enemy, but also themselves. Finally, the master looked at Xiao Wu. Your third spirit ability is probably teleportation, right? But it has a distance limit. If I'm not mistaken, this is the ability of a lightning rabbit. Your third spirit ring comes from a 1,000-year-old lightning rabbit. Teleportation is one of the rarest spirit abilities, and you've given me a pleasant surprise. Moreover, combining teleportation with your soft techniques greatly increases your lethality. But why did you assume victory when you wrapped your legs around Tang San's neck? If you had been cautious, moved away from his third spider web binding with teleportation before attacking again, you would have won instead of being controlled. Xiao Wu stuck out her tongue but didn't dare to argue. The master's rigid face looked stern. Is this what you call monster geniuses? Your performance today disappointed me greatly. Each of you made unforgivable mistakes. Now, all of you will be punished. Run Tuan from the academy to Soto City without using spirit power, and complete 10 round trips before lunch. Only after finishing can you eat. Tang San, your mistake was the worst, so you need to run 12 round trips. Start now. Tang San was the first to start running. To him, the master's words were like commands. Xiao Wu, Dai Mubai, Oscar, and Ma Hongjun followed closely. Since the master even punished his own disciple the most severely, they had no complaints. Moreover, the masters pointed out mistakes were significant for them. At the academy gate, there are prepared rocks for each of you. Carry one and run with the extra weight. Remember, you are a team. If one person doesn't complete the punishment, none of you eat, the master emphasized. Though they couldn't use spirit power, their bodies, transformed over years by spirit power, were much stronger than ordinary people's. Just running wouldn't achieve the master's goal. The distance between the academy and Soto City wasn't too far, about 3 to 4 kilometers each way. 10 round trips meant about 60 to 70 kilometers. Adding the weight made it even more challenging. Watching Tang San and the others run off, Ning Rongrong couldn't help but laugh, but her smile didn't last long. Why aren't you running? The master's cold voice rang out. We have to run too? Ning Rongrong looked at the master in surprise. The master said, I said all of you will be punished. Ning Rongrong was anxious. But it's not fair. Zhu Qing and I didn't make any mistakes. The master calmly asked, what are they to you? Ning Rongrong was taken aback. Classmates, partners. The master said, have you heard of sharing both hardship and joy? You are partners. If you want to be partners who can entrust your backs to each other, do you think you should rest while they are punished? Ning Rongrong was speechless, while Zhu Qing had already started running. When the 7 of them reached the academy gate, they found the master's punishment was indeed prepared with consideration. 7 bamboo baskets contained rocks of various sizes, each with a name on it. The rocks in Tang San, Dai Mubai, and Ma Hongjuan's baskets were the largest. Xiao Wu, Zhu Qing, and Oscar's rocks were medium-sized, and Ning Rongrong's basket contained the smallest rocks. Seeing the rocks in her basket, Ning Rongrong's dissatisfaction lessened slightly, thinking the master wasn't too unreasonable. The master watched the 7 of them running away with their baskets, a faint smile appearing on his rigid face. Isn't this punishment too harsh? That's hundreds of kilometers. Even without using spirit power, they might not finish by nightfall. You're harsher than me, Flender said worriedly, appearing beside the master. The master replied calmly, bitter experiences make a person stronger. I have calculated their physical limits carefully. They won't be exhausted. Moreover, you think they had such a good breakfast for nothing? Without going through shared hardships, how can they become true partners who can trust each other with their lives? Flender raised his hands in surrender. Fine, I'll let you handle it. I know you care about these kids even more than I do. But I must remind you again, the Academy's funds are limited. The master snorted. Do you think I'm you? A dignified spirit sage unable to secure funds for an academy. Flender retorted angrily. I refuse to grovel for support. With my strength, I could live in luxury if I wanted. I want to see how you solve this problem. Your pride is even greater than mine. The master gave Flender a sidelong glance. Then just wait and see. Carrying their baskets, Tang San and Dai Mubai sprinted ahead. Only after starting to run did they realize how severe this punishment was. If they could use their spirit power, 60 or 70 kilometers in half a day would be easy. But without spirit power and carrying weight, it was a different story. Mubai, let's stop for a moment. Tang San suddenly halted. Sweat was already forming on his forehead, though they had just started running. Although they had both consumed spirit power earlier, now they were running without using it, and physically, they were clearly the best among the Shrek 7 devils. Xiao Wu, Ma Hongjun, and Oscar were already several hundred meters behind, with Zhu Qing catching up, and Ning Rongrong trailing at the back. Xiao San, what's wrong? Dai Mubai also stopped, looking at Tang San with some confusion. 10-round trips are no small feat. We need to keep running. Tang San said, Mubai, remember what the teacher said before we set off? He emphasized that we are a team and that we must complete this punishment together. Look, Zhu Qing and Rongrong are being punished with us. Apart from me having to run 12-round trips, you all must complete 10. From my understanding of the teacher, this punishment is not only meant to discipline us but also to strengthen our bodies. Yesterday, the teacher told me that the foundation of a spirit master is their physical fitness. My ability to absorb the man-faced demon spider's spirit ring beyond my level is linked to my physical condition. More importantly, this punishment is likely a test from the teacher, to evaluate our teamwork. We are a unit. In terms of physical endurance, perhaps you and I can manage, but the others might not be able to. We need to think of a way to ensure that everyone can complete this test together. As the master's only disciple, Tang San clearly understood him best. After listening to Tang San, Dai Mubai nodded slowly. It seems that's indeed the case. Let's discuss it once everyone catches up. Soon, the other 5 caught up, and Tang San shared his thoughts on today's punishment. Oscar frowned slightly and said, I think Tang San is right. The master is likely testing us. Our different loads were probably calculated by the master to be within our physical limits. For Tang San and Boss Dai, the task should be manageable within their limits, with some stamina left over. For Fatty, it's likely just at the limit. Naturally, some loads exceed our limits. Only through teamwork can we complete this. The excess loads likely fall on me and Rongrong. As he finished speaking, he smiled wryly. Having run just 2 kilometers, he already felt the basket on his back growing heavier, sweat forming on his forehead, and there was still a long way to go. He doubted he could persist. Fatty Ma Hongjun said nonchalantly, why don't we cheat? We could secretly eat some of little Ao's recovery sausages to avoid running out of stamina. Cheat? Oscar glared at Fatty. Being a smart guy, he would never do something foolish. Fatty, let me ask you this. Can you be sure the master hasn't arranged for other teachers to monitor us? If we're caught cheating, the punishment won't be as simple as it is now. The master surely has good reasons for punishing us this way. We need to figure out a way to conserve our strength. Tang San suddenly said, although the master has us running with weights without using spirit power, the total weight for the 7 of us remains the same. If we can complete the punishment while carrying these weights, it's acceptable. Oscar, give me your stones. Oscar hesitated for a moment before laughing. All right, brother. But there's no need yet. I think we should run at the pace of the slowest among us. This way, everyone can stay together, and a steady pace is the most efficient way to conserve energy. If anyone can't keep up, we can adjust the loads. What do you all think? Ning Rongrong smiled and said, little Ao, I didn't realize you were so smart. Oscar wore a look of self-satisfaction. Didn't you know I was called the clever little prince when I was young? This is nothing. Dai Mubai, the oldest and strongest among them, took the lead as expected. Enough talking. Even talking wastes energy. Let's run, as little Ao suggested. With that, the 7 of them resumed their long run. Undoubtedly, Oscar and Ning Rongrong, as support spirit masters, had the weakest physical strength among them, so the group ran at their pace. Moving steadily, they headed towards Soto City. They completed the first round trip at this steady pace. As they ran, they gradually felt the strain of the weights. If it were just regular running, even without using spirit power, the 6 kilometers or so would not be a burden due to the physical enhancements from their spirit power. Even Oscar and Ning Rongrong, as support spirit masters, were no exceptions. With the added weight, their bodies clearly struggled. After the first round trip, Ning Rongrong and Oscar were drenched in sweat, and the others also showed signs of fatigue. Ning Rongrong was undoubtedly the weakest physically. Although Oscar was also a support spirit master, he had broken through to level 30 and had the enhancements from his 3rd spirit ring, making him fare much better than Ning Rongrong. Tang San and Dai Mubai carried weights of 15 kilograms each, while Xiao Wu, Zhu Zhuqing, and Ma Hongjun carried 10 kilograms. Ning Rongrong and Oscar only had 5 kilograms, but it felt like a mountain to them, their bodies growing heavier with each step, forcing them to grit their teeth and maintain the steady pace. Seeing the academy gates ahead, they were surprised to see the master standing there, watching them complete their first round trip. Beside him was a table with a large barrel on it. Everyone, Drink some water and continue. The master's words were always concise. The barrel contained warm water, slightly salty, seemingly with added salt. Under the master's supervision, each person was allowed only 1 cup of warm water before being urged to continue their punishment. As time passed, the sun rose higher, increasing the temperature. Drinking the salty water replenished their stamina slightly. Tang San and Dai Mubai felt fine, but Oscar and Ning Rongrong noticeably regained some strength. Watching his students gradually disappear into the distance, the master stood expressionless, but his eyes revealed satisfaction seeing them return together. Carrying the barrel, he walked back into the academy. At this moment, he was not only their teacher but also a concerned elder. His goal was not to torture them, but to ensure they received proper training. The second, third, and fourth round trips followed this routine. Each time they returned to the academy, they drank the warm, salty water the master prepared. The warm water was easily absorbed, and the salt replenished what they lost through sweat. Even Oscar and Ning Rongrong managed to complete 4 round trips at a steady pace without stopping. However, by the 5th round trip, Oscar and Ning Rongrong had visibly slowed. Their vision blurred, and their legs felt like lead, the baskets on their backs like mountains. At a steady pace, the others could still maintain their stamina, though everyone was drenched in sweat and breathing heavily. Little Ao, give me your stones, Tang San said to Oscar. Dai Mubai also extended his hand to Ning Rongrong. This time, neither Oscar nor Ning Rongrong refused. They knew their stamina was waning, and continuing like this, they might not even complete this round trip. With the extra 5 kilograms, Tang San and Dai Mubai's weights increased from 15 to 20 kilograms. Though 5 kilograms didn't seem much, it was a significant burden after extensive exertion. They maintained the steady pace, but their breathing grew heavier. In contrast, without the extra weight, Oscar and Ning Rongrong felt a sense of lightness as if they could float. After catching their breath, they found running much easier, resuming the steady pace effortlessly. The 5th, 6th, and 7th round trips passed like this. By the 8th round trip, nearly 2 hours had elapsed. The sun had moved past its zenith, and it was already past noon. Everyone's breathing became labored, their lungs burning like fire. Each step left a clear mark of sweat on the ground. From the previous round trip, the warm salt water at the academy gates had increased to 2 cups, with a brief rest period. The master no longer hurried them, continuing to prepare warm salt water after each round trip. I can't go on, I can't, said Ma Hongjun, stumbling and nearly falling. He stopped, hands on his knees, panting heavily. His face was pale, and each breath seemed a struggle. Everyone stopped, momentarily speechless. They looked at each other, noting that everyone's clothes were soaked with sweat. The most striking was Zhu Zhuqing, the youngest among them but the most developed of the 3 girls. Her wet clothes clung to her body, outlining her impressive curves. Unfortunately, no one had the energy to admire the sight, all standing in place, panting heavily. Originally, Tang San and Dai Mubai shouldn't have been so exhausted, but they carried the extra weight of Ning Rongrong and Oscar. Among them, only Xiao Wu seemed somewhat relaxed. She had reached level 30 and carried the same weight as Zhu Zhuqing and Ma Hongjun. Given her lighter body weight, she still managed with relative ease. It took nearly 5 minutes of heavy breathing for them to recover somewhat. Ma Hongjun couldn't help but say, We won't make it for lunch anyway, so why don't we slow down? I can't go on, I'll collapse if we keep running. Dai Mubai frowned. Slow down? Didn't you notice the master's warm salt water is always the same temperature? But our speed keeps decreasing. Clearly, the master calculated our physical condition. If we run back too slowly, there might be additional punishments. Though the master's training is harsh, it's for our good. We must persevere. Fatty, give me your weight. Ma Hongjun looked at Dai Mubai in surprise. Boss Dai, are you still okay? Dai Mubai straightened his chest. Fatty, remember, a man can never say he's not okay. Give it here. As Dai Mubai transferred the stones from Ma Hongjuan's basket to his own, Tang San approached Zhu Zhuqing. Although he didn't understand why Dai Mubai wasn't helping Zhu Zhuqing with her burden, he knew Dai Mubai was in a similar physical condition to himself. Zhu Zhuqing, though silent, was clearly exhausted. Let me help you, Zhuqing. Tang San reached for the basket on Zhu Zhuqing's back. Zhu Zhuqing twisted away, avoiding his hand. No need, I can manage. You've already run 2 more laps than us, with your current exhaustion. How will you keep going? Tang San was momentarily stunned, realizing she wasn't as cold as she seemed. The journey resumed, and everyone slowed down even more. Though Dai Mubai said nothing, his steps were noticeably heavier, and he was sweating more than anyone else. The 10 kilograms of extra weight from Ma Hongjun was a significant strain, pushing his total burden to 30 kilograms, severely draining his stamina. After the 8th lap, when the master gave them saline water, he glanced at their baskets but said nothing. On the 9th lap, despite the lack of extra weight, Oscar and Ning Rongrong were nearing their limits. Ma Hongjun had recovered somewhat, Xiao Wu was still managing, but Zhu Zhuqing's steps were getting slower. Tang San, however, seemed to have pushed through his limits and showed no signs of overexertion. Seeing Soto City in the distance, halfway through the 9th lap, Dai Mubai stumbled and fell forward. Normally, with his strength, he would have stood back up easily, but his exhaustion was too great. Tang San, following closely, quickly caught Dai Mubai as he fell. Dai Mubai's heterochromatic eyes were merging, a sign Tang San recognized from their dangerous encounters, indicating Dai Mubai was at his limit. Dai Mubai couldn't stand on his own, leaning heavily on Tang San, his chest heaving like a bellows, looking dehydrated. Boss Dai, are you okay? Everyone rushed over, concerned. Tang San silently took the heaviest 15-kilogram stone from Dai Mubai's basket and put it into his own. Xiao San, no, I can still manage, Dai Mubai said, barely standing straight, determination in his eyes. You endured the pain of the man-faced demon spider's spirit ring. Why can't I hold on? I can do it. Brothers, let's stick together, no one falls behind. As he spoke, Dai Mubai forcibly took his 15-kilogram stone back from Tang San's basket. Boss Dai, give me mine back, Ma Hongjun said suddenly. With 1.5 laps left, everyone knew Dai Mubai couldn't manage 30 kilograms. Ning Rongrong stepped forward, and mine too. I'm feeling better now, I can carry my own. Tang San said, Rongrong, no. Fatty, hold on a bit longer. Ma Hongjun took back his 10 kilograms, lightening Dai Mubai's load. Under Tang San's insistence, Ning Rongrong's 5-kilogram stone also went into Tang San's basket, bringing his load to 25 kilograms. The journey continued, every step heavy and arduous. With 15 kilograms less, Dai Mubai pushed through with sheer willpower. The 9th lap ended with mutual support. Though still running, they were barely faster than walking. The punishment had lasted 3 full hours. Gulping down saline water, the 7 looked as if they'd been fished out of water. The master stood silently by. Dai Mubai rallied his spirits. Brothers, just 1 more lap, let's hold on. Oscar spoke up. Xiao San, give me my weight back. It's the last lap, I can handle it. Tang San was taken aback, seeing something new in Oscar's eyes. But seeing Oscar's trembling legs, Tang San shook his head. No, I can manage. Oscar walked to Tang San, sweat dripping, but his gaze firm. If you see me as a brother, give it back. I can do it. Ning Rongrong, breathless and pale, couldn't help but say, Xiao. Today, you really look like a man. Oscar, too tired to laugh, puffed out his chest in a determined stance. The Shrek 7 devils were all exhausted, but their determination remained. Sometimes, the difference between a genius and a mediocre person is willpower. Overcoming one's limits can change everything. The 10th lap began. They could barely move, inching forward step by step. Not giving up. No, they could all make it. Bearing their burdens, they trudged towards the final goal. After a kilometer, a faint Oscar returned his stone to Tang San's basket. After 2 kilometers, Zhu Zhuqing's stone went to Xiao Wu's basket. After 3 kilometers, Ning Rongrong fainted, and Tang San gave his stones to Dai Mubai, carrying Ning Rongrong. On the return kilometer, Oscar fainted. Zhu Zhuqing took her stone back. Xiao Wu's load went to Ma Hongjun. Ning Rongrong was carried by Xiao Wu, and Tang San carried Oscar. After 2 return kilometers, Zhu Zhuqing fainted. Dai Mubai barely managed to carry her. With less than 500 meters to go, Tang San had Zhu Zhuqing's stones and Dai Mubai's 15 kilograms in his basket, carrying Oscar on his back. Dai Mubai carried Zhu Zhuqing. Xiao Wu carried Ning Rongrong. Ma Hongjun carried 20 kilograms. Step by step, they moved towards the finish. "You put me down." Ning Rongrong's weak voice made Xiao Wu stumble, almost falling. Ning Rongrong slid off her back, and they supported each other forward. Oscar woke from his faint, struggling off Tang San's back. With Tang San's help, he continued. Zhu Zhuqing remained unconscious, her previous exertion greater than Oscar and Ning Rongrong. Ma Hongjun, though tired, was better off, helped by Dai Mubai earlier. Ma Hongjun joined Tang San and Oscar, the 3 supporting each other forward. Had the punishment been for one, someone like Ning Rongrong or Oscar wouldn't have lasted. But with all 7 supporting each other, their determination was ignited. Their vision blurred, but they saw the finish line. Their bodies moved on sheer willpower. Tang San, carrying the heavy stones, supported Ma Hongjun and Oscar, the Shentian Gong's resilience aiding him in enduring. Dai Mubai's waist bent under the weight, his eyes reddened, each step heavy. 400 meters, 300 meters, 200 meters, 100 meters. The master's rigid face appeared, seeing their mutual support moved even him. The last lap took a full hour, but they made it back. One by one, they collapsed, Oscar, Ning Rongrong, and Ma Hongjun fainting almost simultaneously.